All right, good evening. The Ascension Board of Adjustments now called to order. My name is James Cecil. I'm the chairman. At this time, a roll call of our members. Vice Chairman Alvin Madere.
Here.
Mr. Brad Walker.
Here.
Miss Kathy DeSaylor.
Here.
Desideer. I said that intentionally. Mr. Howard Dalton.
Here.
And Mr. Bryce Cox.
Here.
At this time, we're going to open up a public comment period. This time is to promote helpful ideas for Ascension Parish Board of Adjustments that provided by you, the public, to help us run a better and more efficiently board. So if anybody's got any great ideas or any public comment that they would like to make at this particular point in time, by all means, now's the time to do it, because we can use all the help we can get. Okay? That wasn't meant to be funny. That's for real. Kid. With that said, please turn off your cell phones and pagers. If it's required that you use these items, I would like for you to go outside these doors, make sure the doors are closed, make sure you go outside and conduct business. Because there's a very good reason for this, and I'll be honest with you, I need to have this board able to hear people, especially when they were requiring a variance, and we want to hear everything they have to say, as well as we want to hear the public what they need to say to this board. I want to do something a little different tonight. I want to recognize Miss June DeLong for outstanding work with this board. I want to thank you personally, and keep up the good work. Ascension Parish needs you big time. Thank you, dear. I second that, right? Okay. I don't think there was a motion on the floor for that. I want to thank Mr. Michael Marshall, too, for showing up tonight. And open lines of communication with the Ascension Board of Adjustments, as well as the Zoning Commission. And we're making great strides towards that, and appreciate you showing up tonight. Thanks, Mike. I'd like to have the acceptance of the minutes of March the 28th, 2006.
So moved. Second.
You have a motion to accept. Any opposed?
Abstain.
We have one abstain. Any opposed? Motion carries. Acceptance of the written decision for March 28th of 2006.
So moved. Second. Abstain.
We have one abstain. No opposed. Motion carries. First on the agenda tonight is 1458.06, Lot B of the Ruby H. Gotro property for Ruby Gotro. It's located on the west side of Anna Road, approximately 1,600 feet north of LA Highway 621.
Motion open public hearing?
Second.
Public hearing is now open. If you would sign in, please, there's a sign-in sheet up here. Sign in and state your request, sir, as well as your name.
My name is Ronald Gotro. Ruby is my mother. She's kind of down right now, so she couldn't make the meeting. I am also owner of this property, part owner. What we'd like to try to do is petition the committee. I'd like to give my daughter a piece of this land, but we do not have enough footage of the width that they need. It would be around 94 feet to get the complete square footage that I would need to pass this land to her so she can build a house. And we'd like to petition the committee to see if we can give her 80 feet instead of 94 feet, because the 94 feet would put it right in Mama's house. We want to give this to my daughter under an act of donation.
I'm taking it this is your
This
daughter
is my
here?
daughter and my
Okay.
son-in-law, yes.
Okay. And your son-in-law?
Yes, Brad and Amanda Goodrich.
Do they have anything to say in behalf, or they just want to step up with you?
Well, we didn't know if we needed to come or not.
And that's fine. That's fine. And that's fine. But if you had something to say, by all means, please.
I don't have much to say other than putting the request in.
Turn.
And just to build for the purposes of building a house.
Okay. Does any board member have any questions for these individuals?
Quick, you
said how many feet?
Wait, it's from
It's from
20,000
100 to 94.
to 94.
80 feet.
From 20,000 to 94?
I mean, from 20,000 to 16,000, which would put it at the 94. That's what
Okay,
we
from
thought it was,
20,000 to 16,000
Yeah.
square feet.
which would be the 94.
Which would be the 94?
Yeah.
Because he said 80-something.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's the 94.
From 100 to 94.
Yeah.
No.
Mr.
It was supposed to be the 94, and then
We want to talk to
because it's in
Mr. O'Neill,
rural,
too.
it would be 20,000, and she said we can't do the 20,000 because that would put it in her house. The 94 wouldn't. It would
I'm
be-
sorry, I've been working overtime. I hadn't
Yeah,
had a chance to
sorry.
talk to her.
So the
That's
94
fine.
would be
Make
correct.
sure we're-
Okay, but the 94 would be too close to Mama's house. In other words, it'd be right at the edge of her house. If y'all would ever want to sell the land, then it'd be right next door to her. I mean, that's where we was trying to go. Mama wants to see if we can just give her the 80 feet wide and the depth of the...
We called me like 2 weeks later after he started doing this and said, I just realized you're in a rural, which would be 20,000.
Right.
So that's why we're petitioning to get the 16.
Mr.
Yeah.
Chairman, don't you think this should be postponed until they get the paperwork right that reflects what the true request is?
Well, in fact, what Lance has done, and correct me if I'm wrong here, is these calculations is what it's based on, and what is written typed in here is actually what you're.
But she just said she wanted to go with what her father said, which was 80 feet. not
No, I
90
want to
feet.
go with what's on here. It says requesting a variance of 6 feet from 100 to 94. So it says to exclude the road right away to achieve the 16,000 square feet. I just want to go with that to see if y'all can approve that. And if anything else needs to change, if I need to go speak to my grandmother, which I think once I explain to her it'll be okay, then I will make another appointment. But I don't think I'll need to. This is what me and the surveyor spoke about.
Moved it right away.
Do you have a copy of the map, what he wrote on here?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, that's what.
Well, I guess
If you exclude the right of way, does it come out to the 16?
Pretty close to it.
you can.
Okay.
That's what I was telling you. Every time they come in to put in a right of way somewhere, I'm losing property here. I'm coming out on the short end of this deal.
Let me add, are you going to make a motion to defer?
No.
Okay, so you're going to withdraw the statement? Okay. Okay, the statement to defer has been withdrawn. It was not a motion. So does this board have any other questions or concerns that may be solved by asking them a question at this time?
My only question is about Lance. If we just do the 16 like the original request requires, is she going to have problems getting permits and all that stuff because we're missing another
Well,
the part for the road? In other words, do we need to do the 19 or do we need to do?
we need to do the 19th as a rule.
Hold on.
It's zone rule. You okay with that? You okay with that?
Sir, may I ask a question? I'm new to this. Why does it have to be 20,000 square feet?
I'll let Mr. Lance
Okay.
explain that to you. He probably can explain
I
it
mean,
to
back
you
in the
better.
olden days, people used to just give the kids property, you know? I mean, that's what I'm trying to find out.
He's calculating right now. He's buying time.
I'm showing a little more than that, about 18,000 square feet.
That's what I have, Lance.
Yeah.
18,000.
Yeah, 168 about.
Yeah.
So it'd be a little more than that. And to answer his question, it's designated in a rural district, and in a rural district, the minimum lot size is 100 foot of road frontage and 20,000 square feet. So it's just because where your property is located at. It just falls into that district.
But you can sell them for smaller size than that?
No, sir. Not if your lot was created prior to that, then yes, sir, you could.
Okay, 'cause I was
This
just
lot
wondering
would have
'cause
been
they-
created.
They got a little small lot right up the road from us, and they done put 2 trailers on it.
Right. Yes, sir. If the lot was created, prior to that, then those lots would be allowed to, that size.
Does any board member have any further questions at this time? All right, and I'm going to go to the public here. Does anybody in the public have an opposition to this or like to speak in favor of their request? No. Close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Once again, does any board member have any further questions? If not, do I have a motion on the floor?
I make a motion that we grant the 94-foot frontage and the square footage of 18,033,
33, somewhere around there.
whatever, because it is in harmony with the purpose and intent. It's not injurious or detrimental, and it coincides with the family and the surrounding usages.
I'll second.
Okay, we have a motion to accept basically as written. And I said as written, meaning what the parish has provided us as a cover sheet. Do we have any opposition? Motion carries. Granted, your variance is granted.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Let me make a quick announcement. If anybody's here tonight to speak in opposition to Mr. Ron Kelliger, he is that is the property that is located on the southwest corner of LA Highway 73 and LA Highway 74. He has pulled his request, so he will not be here tonight, and it is not on our agenda. Moving on with the agenda, review number ID 1459.06, Lot 2, Michael and Gail Michelle.
Motion to open the public hearing.
Public hearing is now open. This property is located on the east side of Tick Trace Road, approximately 200 feet north of LA Highway 621.
Correct. Hi.
Have you signed in, ma'am?
No.
Sign your name there, and please state your name.
Hey, I'm Gail Michelle, and I own the lot that is in question. It's 100 where the other trailer
Or if you're
is.
selling it to move the other trailer, could you not put it in the place where the trailer is now? Is what
No,
you're
it's-
saying?
it's there
It's
and
set up,
set
everything's
up,
ready
yeah.
to go. Well, that's what I'm asking. We don't know
Yeah,
if it's,
yeah.
if
They're
living in it now
living in
or-
the old trailer, and we're trying to get the electricity hooked up to the new trailer so they can move into the new trailer.
You what?
Do you have any further questions with the board? We'll open up the public. Anybody in the public like to speak for or against this young lady's request? Step forward, sir, and sign and state your name.
How y'all doing this evening?
Good.
My name is Richard Roche, and I live next to the property where they moved these trailers in. And I bought, there was an acre of land where my house was and the two trailers, and I bought half of that acre last year. And they had the old trailer in the back, as Gail stated. And they bought this new trailer and moved it in front of the old trailer. And they also put a separate modad in there, too, so they have two modads there. And when they moved the trailer, can I present you with some pictures
Yes,
of
sir,
this?
by all means.
Sir?
Yes, sir.
All right. Sitting on my house, look at the side of their trailer. That's the old trailer in the back.
All these pictures?
All these pictures,
Let me have all those, and I'll pass them to the board.
So before you go, can I just came to pinpoint, where's your
Go ahead.
where's your lot on this before you go back to your seat, please?
Where is there?
Right there.
This is the lot in question. It's-
Yeah, well, originally it was 1 acre together. Now they only have a half acre. I've got the other half
So yours is back here?
right here.
Okay,
Okay.
okay. Thank you.
Lot 2.
And then I also have a letter from Rudy Tucker and Associates, their appraiser, and it states in the letter that my property has appreciated $30,000 to $50,000 for that trailer being put on the property. And I was also reading over the variances, and it says, you know, if it takes away light or air or wind or anything like that, and we sit on our front porch, I mean, we can't.
Well, let me kind of explain that.
Okay.
As far as the light, air, and everything else is concerned, that more is to the zoning commission issue. Our issue on this board is hardships, and you have to prove that you have a hardship, and that's the issue right now. Do we have a hardship? And that's for this board to decide. Now, as far as the air and the light and the rain and everything else, that is a zoning issue.
Well, I would think that having a depreciation on my property from $30,000 to $50,000 is a hardship. And it also states, Rudy also states in there that he doubts that I could, you know, sell my house the way it looks.
Well, now in this particular case, with this letter that you have presented to me, and it is signed by, that's Rudy Tucker Jr., Clyde Rudy Tucker Jr.
That's correct.
Want to pass this down. Have you all seen this picture? I'm going to pass this. Here, let me have this picture.
Plus, if you know, our kids, I have a young son that runs, I mean, he's active all the time, and when he runs, like when he's on the side of the house and runs out, I mean, you can't really see kids coming out with that trailer right there till they get right on the road. And understand, I think that trailer's supposed to be 55 feet off the center line of the road, is what I was told. And I didn't think you could have two trailers on a half-acre lot that would constitute a duplex. And I understand you're supposed to have an acre of land. Is that correct?
Stay there, because I'm going to give all this back to you, because I
Okay.
want you to keep it, okay?
All right.
Any other board member have any further questions that they would like to ask at this particular point in time? You'll get one more chance after I close public hearing.
I do want to ask
By all means.
the other lady, the lady that's requesting the variance. I'm sorry, I'm bad on names, so I did want to ask you a question. You said that you were going to you were trying to get it hooked up so that they could move into it and then eventually move the old trailer out.
Correct.
Okay, and you have a separate sewage system for each one. Why would you?
No.
Or you don't?
When
Okay.
they dug the new septic system, they crushed the old one and filled it in with the dirt that they
Okay.
dug
Okay.
up the new one for.
Okay. I found that curious. So, okay, thank you.
Okay? Because we're not going to have two septic systems on that piece of property.
Is the trailer currently hooked up to the new sewer since the
Yes,
other
it is.
Okay, so they're both provided with sewer right now. So
Not both of them. We got to get the new one hooked. We got it ready to hook up. It's hooked up to the new one, but it's not being used by the new one. They still living in the existing trailer.
Okay.
We can't get electricity hooked up till we get this variance. The electricity has to be hooked up. They move out the trailer. The trailer is no longer being lived in.
But you did state that it was going to be sold.
Correct. I'm
So
putting it
that
up for
trailer-
sale
in
to
other words,
get
that
it
trailer will
out.
be there until it is sold.
Correct. I mean, what else can I do with it until I sell it? If you got any ideas, you can tell me.
Does anybody else,
I did.
do you have any, would you like to make a rebuttal, or Do you have any further comment?
Well, I would just like to know, you know, if y'all do grant her the right to leave that other trailer there, I mean, can it stay there? Does it have to be moved or what?
It's going to have to be moved. I'm not going to really get into that right now, but eventually it will have to.
So the new trailer is going to have to be moved?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am. The old trailer.
Oh,
Not
okay.
yet.
The new trailer is in ordinance with the center line of the road?
No, that's what they're here for a variance for.
That's why we're here.
Anybody have any further questions in the audience? Yes, sir. Please sign in and state your name and address the board, please.
I'm Jeremy Algrave. I own the new trailer. Whenever we bought the new trailer, the trailer movers come to my house that morning, and we talked about it. The trailer that's existing on the property right now, it can't be moved with no machine. It can only be moved with a truck. And the way the property is set up with a tree and the water pump and stuff, that is the only place that he's seen that we could put it to get the old one out. And as he said about the kid playing on the road, I got a kid too, and when I pull up down the road and check my mail, I could see his wife sitting on the porch with the kid playing.
Is there some reason that they didn't move the old trailer out and place your new trailer in its spot?
Because we wouldn't have a place to live until then. I mean, we would. I've got a 1-year-old and my wife's pregnant right now.
Let me just ask you real quick, because when
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, when we asked her a minute ago, the question was asked, did she get it surveyed first, and she said no. Did you look into what the regulations were about having it, how close to the road and all that, or did you just wait that morning they were delivering a trailer and you said, well, I have to put it here? I mean, just how did it come about?
I didn't know nothing about it. I had no idea about the restrictions from the road.
So nobody bothered to look into that or to see if there was any restrictions or anything?
We didn't know nothing about it.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to speak for or against this issue? Okay, we'll close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Public hearing is closed. Does any board member have any further questions or discussions at this time? And then,
I'll make a motion.
where is this? That's I apologize.
I'll
We're gonna make a motion.
When you're ready.
I'm ready now.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that this be denied because there's no unique circumstances here. It's not private landowner use of the land. While there may be a hardship here, it's self-inflicted because they did not check into the placement requirements and do the basic homework required. It does, in fact, or would appear to, based on this gentleman's document, diminish the adjacent property values. Therefore, I would recommend this petition be denied.
I'll second the motion.
We have a motion on the floor at this time to deny the variance as written for various reasons, I think, which was outlined by Mr. Dalton. And we also have a second. Any opposed? Motion carries. Variance is denied. Next on the agenda tonight is review ID number 1461.06 for Tim Deal, located on the east side of Sugar Lane, approximately 400 feet south of LA Highway 308 south. Sir? Oh, I'm sorry.
1460.
I'm sorry. I skipped one here. Let's back up. That was my fault. Trying to get ahead of the game here.
All right.
1460.06, Lot D, for the Simpson Jr. property, located on west side of Highway 73, Old Jefferson Highway, approximately 1,150 feet south of Highway 42. And I apologize for that.
Okay. My name's Phil O'Neill, and I'm the property owner next door to this part we're talking about here. And what I'd like to know is what exactly it says to exceed the floor area square feet. What are they asking to be done here?
Not here.
The person making a request here.
He says he lives next door. So. Right.
Right, we need somebody, right.
Hang on 1 second.
Okay.
Whoever's asking for the request.
Who is asking for the request?
Isn't that what this email is all about, that says they're not going to be here?
No, this is somebody.
That's someone against him.
Oh. Excuse me.
Is Cynthia or Lewis Stafford here tonight? Are they even here tonight? I was taking for granted that you were the Staffords.
No.
No, you're not?
No.
Well, if we hang tight, because
Okay.
they're not here to represent their own right now. You got an option. You can
To the
either
end of the
defer
meeting.
this to the end of the meeting,
Or we can act now.
or you can act now.
Let's act now and get it over with.
You want to act now, we can.
I just act on that, but I'd like to hear what he has to say about it.
I do too.
Let's proceed.
All right, we're going to take the general consensus of this board. We'll proceed. Okay. Go ahead, sir.
Okay. I would just like an explanation. What is the square feet, and would they intend to? What would this commercial do here to this property? I'm just reading right here. Purpose of request to exceed the maximum floor area. What is the maximum floor area right now?
1,500.
And if it goes to commercial, what would that exceed it to?
We're not
They're
asking to
asking-
rezone it.
They're asking for up to 7,500 square feet.
Okay.
It would stay zoned what it's presently zoned.
Medium intensity residential, it will stay that. He's just
Okay.
asking for a variance on the 1,500 square feet.
Which side do you live on, sir? What was your name again?
Philip O'Neill.
Okay. I see where your property is.
Okay. So if if this is okayed, what will this do to my property? Will it make it the same? They're just asking for a larger square footage. That's what you're saying?
Correct.
That's correct, sir. All they're asking is for a variance of 6,000 square feet.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
And we're not rezoning here.
Okay.
You understand that?
Okay, now I do.
Okay.
Okay.
And you're still in medium, medium intensity residential.
Okay.
And
So what type of business will they be able to put here?
Whatever would fall in the use tables and whatever would fall in on the use tables for a medium intensity residential district. So
So we're not talking about a bar, car wash?
I'd have to defer to Lance because I don't know the use tables by heart, but I wouldn't think that a bar would fit into that. But any other thing that fell in the use category, then they could use that 7,500 square foot building for. In this case, he's asking for a dental office, which does fit in that.
No, the
He's saying
dental
he-
office is
The
next
dental-
door. They want to put a realtor, East Bank Realtor branch office, and then I'll rent another part of it, the building,
Sorry.
is what they state.
Okay.
Okay, I apologize. I was.
No, and that's okay. Do we have anybody, you complete, sir?
Yeah.
Okay. Do we have anybody else in here that, in the audience tonight that would like to either speak for or against the request of this request? No one? There's, obviously, there's no one here to question except for what we have emailed to us. Matter of fact, we should read that email off. Would you read it off for us?
We received an email from Larry Weaver, which I'm assuming is an adjacent property owner. I don't see him listed here. It's addressed to Ms. June, Ascension Parish Planning and Zoning Commission. My wife and I will not be able to attend the hearing, as well as we will be out of town. However, we would like to express our desire that the property located in question discuss that the hearing remains zoned as it presently is for a 1,500 square foot building. We do not want it to be rezoned to allow property to exceed the square footage allowed a commercial residential building in our area. We're against a large structural building going up in our neighborhood. Thank you, Larry and Mary Lynn Weaver.
I think that question has already been answered. We're not rezoning anything.
Okay.
And I'm not going to go back through that again for you.
I'm also against it. So,
You're also against it?
right.
Did we close the public hearing yet?
Not yet.
I move to be closed.
I'll second it.
Public hearing is now closed.
I move to deny the motion as requested. No one's here to basically answer any of our questions, so we don't know what issues surround this piece of property.
If I can amplify for the reasons.
Go ahead.
There's no unique circumstances here. There's no hardship. The variance is not necessary for reasonable use, and that they're looking for a 400% increase over the 1,500 allowed square footage. And I figure that's an excessive variance. So therefore, I will second your motion to deny.
I appreciate that.
All right, we have a motion and a second on the floor to deny the request as written. Anyone opposed? Motion carries. Variance is denied.
Thank you.
Let's see if I can get D up here. That's 1461.06 for Tim Deal. I just want to make you walk up and down a couple
Yeah,
times.
it's no problem. It's Dill, D-I-L-L. They screwed it up on my paper, too.
Very well put.
Go ahead, sir. Did you sign in? I'm sure you did.
Yeah, I did
Okay.
first round.
Go ahead and state your request.
What I'm coming to request is to reduce the minimum front setback. I'm trying to build a shop on Sugarland Drive. They say they want it 55 feet from the center of the property, which would, 55 from the center of the road, should I say. And had I do that, that would put my first wall somewhere halfway of the lot, and my back wall would be almost into my house. The way I had it drawn out, if I could do it from 30 feet from the center of the road, which would give me 21 feet between the edge of the road and the first wall of the building, it would put everything in conjunction. It would make it look correct to the rest of the property around. No one is that far away from the center of the road on a little dead-end street.
Did we open the public hearing?
No.
So
No.
moved.
Second.
Public hearing is now open. Does any board member have any questions at this time?
What's currently what is currently on Lot 10?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Nothing. That's what I'm trying to build.
So you're really looking to put a commercial establishment in a medium residential zoning?
I'm looking to put a metal building there. Half of it will be for personal use, the other half will be for me to restore the cars that I do.
Any further question from the board? I'm going to go to the public. Anyone in the public like to speak for or against this gentleman's request? Mr. Shakespeare?
How you doing? Good evening, gentlemen. I would like to bring a little bit perspective into this request. I've been familiarized with it. Mr. Dill has spoken to me, and we've ridden out and spoken with a couple of the 4 or 5 of the nearby residences, and they have no opposition to this occurring. He's currently doing some small restoration work on cars at this time at another location, and they want to bring that into that area. Directly across the road, the opposite road there, these are small dead-end roads that people live in there. Directly across from that, there are some people that have trucking businesses and a number of other similar type businesses down there that people conduct out of their homes, and this would be fit in appropriately with what's currently around that area right now. And since the people did not object to it, and they want to do that in a very good manner in the shape of the lot, he needed a variance to put the building that would be nice and fit in with the rest of the neighborhood. So it looks to be something that people are pretty well satisfied with over there. So I would support it because of that case.
Thank you, Mr. Shakespeare. You have a question?
Mr. Deal, let me ask you a question, because...
Deal. Yeah, it's misspelled on our paperwork.
I'll answer either one, it doesn't matter.
Okay. It is Deal, is right?
D-I-L-L.
Oh, Deal, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
No problem.
Let me just ask you a quick question. Because if the variance is granted, you build the building, from what I'm reading here, is that you would not be able to operate the type of business that you're trying to operate. Is that correct, Lance? It does not fit in the use?
No.
I guess the thing is, I just wanted y'all to understand what his plans were with it. It's a restoration shop in which Mr. Deal will work himself, basically, in there. So he won't be himself, and really he only does 1 or 2 cars, I guess, a year type thing.
Yeah, if I have 2 customers per year, I've worked day and night.
In other words, what he just stated is he'll have no employees, he will have no Friday paychecks, any of that. So
Not going to
he's on his own.
look for a business license or an operational license, correct?
What's that? I'm sorry.
He's not going to be looking for an operational license or a business
I
license
would
to
think
conduct business there?
That would be something you need to ask Mr. Deal, but I would think
Is that
he
something
would need
that you're going to be
I would
officially-
imagine that I would have to have a
Pay
license
taxes.
to do it correctly,
Well,
some
that's-
type of,
Well,
I mean, this is a mom and pop operation.
My
I'm gonna
point
walk out
here
my
is
back door
that
and work.
if you're going to, even if you're going to do 1 car a year, okay,
Mm-hmm.
and you're going to have a business license or an occupational license operation to operate that business there,
I would-
okay?
I would have to imagine I
Which
would need
doesn't
one.
fit within that use, why wouldn't you include that in the variance request to get a variance on the use tables? Can we get a variance on the use tables?
The thing is that's the issue. The use, what he's trying to do is not listed in the use tables. And that's what I wanted to stress also, is that's the case here. And what he's doing on the property, there's nothing that I see listed in there that states what he's doing anywhere on there. So if that's the case, that is something that, yes, you can do. My interpretation.
Let me ask you this, Lance. I understand what you're saying. It's basically 2 questions. You try to clarify the use in that district, which we have no authority over, okay, to grant a use in a district that is not already permitted.
I think the thing is that asking, I guess,
Clarification.
or whatever of that particular use. And I guess to know for sure that I understand that if someone else comes up with this, that everyone's on the same page saying that this would be, my interpretation of that use would be, it would be allowed, I guess you could state. In that district.
The use tables show an automotive repair shop of any type.
That's what it states. I have it in there.
So it does show an automotive repair
It says
shop.
auto and truck sales, rental and repair.
And this would fall under that.
No,
Because
Not
that's a form of
necessary.
repair, restoration.
Not,
Will it? I mean, to
Which will
just and let me at least make this statement. Just today, and this goes a lot deeper than what you're asking for. I mean, like he's saying, we have to try to clarify
this is one
what
of the
a
things we're
use
battling.
is in a particular district. And once we do that, then we set a precedent, I guess, so to speak. Or can we even do that? I don't think this board can do that. But what I will say is, in the seminar today, and it's ironic that it was covered, but one of the attorneys there basically said, if the use is not expressly permitted by the ordinance, okay, in that district, then it is expressly prohibited.
That's exactly right.
That's exactly what was told to us. So how do you go about adding that particular use to that district?
To that table, you would have
Yes,
to go
to
back.
that-
You would have to go back to the council and to the commission and ask for
It would have to be done through,
So we cannot grant a variance to a use then, to allow a use in a district?
That's not listed.
no.
Okay.
I mean, it's not listed. It's cut and
Sure,
dry,
sure,
exactly
sure,
what
sure.
you're saying.
Okay.
That is minute or is
that is correct.
the way it's worded, it basically says an auto shop, which is there, but this is actually, what are you doing with the vehicles there? Restoration.
Restoring them. I take
Yeah,
them in and fully
restoration.
restore them.
Which falls
You know.
under the repair.
And look, in my opinion, I would say that's an auto shop. But I don't know that we have the authority, and maybe Mr. O'Neill would like to chime in on this, to establish a particular use. Well, it is. I mean, it was pointed out to us.
It was pointed out to us, and the other thing, my question, I'm just trying to save this man a lot of money, because he goes, if we grant this variance to put the building, and he goes and builds the building, but then he can't operate the type of business he wants to operate, he's wasted a lot of money. So he needs to make sure he has those ducks in a row before
Exactly.
he spends money on the building. I'm just trying to protect you, Mr. Dillon. That's all I'm trying to do.
I don't want to spend $150 for
Right.
nothing.
And that's what I'm trying to make you understand is that even if you got this variance and built that building, you may not be able to operate that business without getting that use done.
Do you have a copy of this, O'Neill? Exactly what's before us?
Yeah, I have a copy of what's before us. I think that's just Lance's explanation of what the gentleman's trying to do. That we're not approving or disproving any use of any property, that all you're doing is weighing the variance. You're seeking a variance from the,
Well, O'Neill, one of the standards that we have says it will not permit any use not otherwise permitted in the district.
we're not granting him a use, and that's exactly what I'm telling you. You're not granting him a use. He's asking you a variance from the center line. That's all he's requested, is a variance from the center line. I don't think the variance request that he be authorized to do a business there. If he
Right, and that's-
does or he doesn't, that's his.
That's his.
Right.
That's his.
Okay.
And
That's
I'm-
exactly what I'm saying.
And I agree that we're
So what you
looking
all-
at the variance tonight, not the use, okay? I just want him to understand that if
Well,
we grant
had-
it,
we can't.
What's
we
my
can't,
next move after this? If the variance was done, then
then you're
what?
going to have to get permission to have a use out there of that type.
Where do I start with that?
That's the council.
What I read
All right.
into it is if we act on the variance, then the department, the zoning department, is basically comfortable with restoration is okay in that particular district.
No. No, you're granting him a variance. That's all
Okay.
you're doing.
Okay.
Then he's got to pursue the use.
After that, he's got to deal with whoever he's got to deal with to get the proper use, but that's
Right.
not what you're authorizing. You're authorizing him a variance to build a building within, he's just telling you what he wants it for. You're not giving him the authority to do that.
Okay.
You're not authorized to do that.
Well, I know that, and that's exactly my point.
Like I
wanna
say,
make
you
sure
know,
that
all the
we
rest of
weren't
the neighbors, there's 18-wheeler rigs, and, you know,
overstepping.
they're running big truck businesses out down these little lanes, and I,
But still, what he's saying, and let me go back to what, and I agree with Mr. O'Neill, and what we're here to do tonight is try
It's
to give
strictly
you a
for the
variance.
variance. I understand
But
that.
what this gentleman right here is also trying to tell you is, you're taking the first step of several steps. And
Right.
this is just I can't really say that legally, he's trying to offer you a suggestion.
yeah.
And that this board can't do in the first place. What's written before us or what's given to us, we have to act upon. What you do
After the
with
fact.
this variance or without this variance is, further steps.
Yeah, in other words, this is the first, one of the steps, one of many.
That's correct. That's
Right.
correct. So,
I understand that.
okay, we're all on the same page here. All board members are with me here?
Yep.
Okay, and
Shoot.
now's a good time to talk about it.
On lot 10 here is the one, this map that we're looking at here.
Yeah,
Did you say there was nothing on that lot now?
that lot is empty.
Okay. The building doesn't look like the whole size of the lot. Why wouldn't you scoot it back a little bit? You said something was going to be in the way or something when you,
Well,
if you
what it
scoot it
is,
back?
on this lot, with the dimensions on this lot, on this map of it was, before they made the Sugar Lane a public road instead of a private road, the property line went all the way to the center of the road. Now, the property is shortened some because of the road, and then there's a ditch in the back. So it's not actually the 144 feet deep that it looks. Had I started from 55 foot from the center of the road back with the first wall of the shop, the back wall of the shop would be almost into the back property, right up next to the house.
So basically what you're saying, currently where you have it positioned is as far back as you can go because there's something in the way in the back, the ditch in the back and all.
There's the ditch and stuff like that, yeah, the drainage and everything back there.
Okay.
I have a question. You keep referring to the house.
That's
Where's your
our house.
at?
That would be lot 6, that was directly behind lot 10. That's our property also.
What is located on lot 9, and is there a lot that runs to the other side?
Yes, lot 9 is empty, and lot 8 would be empty.
What about like lot 5 right next to your house?
That's my neighbor, sir.
Lot 10 comes a little bit into lot 5?
Yes.
Is there something on that border between where lot 10 and lot 5 would be? Is there anything back on lot 5?
But lot 5 is someone else's home. That's my neighbor's.
We got public hearings now is open.
Yeah.
You have a question?
No, I was just going to say, is there anybody else?
Does anybody
Let
else
Brian do the job.
in the audience tonight would like to speak for or against this gentleman's request? All right.
Motion to close public hearings?
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. Does the board have any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion that we accept the variance the way that it's written. It fits within the peace and harmony of that neighborhood. I don't see any adverse effects to anyone else. I think that with the type building he's trying to build, that he does need possibly to put it a little bit closer to the road. So I make a motion that we do accept it for those reasons, but would suggest that he at least check into the use before he pours the concrete or builds the building.
Yeah, without a doubt.
To make sure he'd be able to use it for that. But I do make the motion that we accept it
As written.
as written.
We have a second?
Second.
Okay. We have a motion to accept as written, and we also have a second. Any opposition? Motion carries. Variance is granted, sir.
Thank y'all.
Next on the agenda is 1462.06, Lot 146, trailer land for Rodney Stanley. We've had a lot of names that get
We getting it close, just don't.
mutilated tonight, so that's why I gave it in a question form.
Yeah, well, the D ain't supposed to be in there, but it's close
Well,
enough.
see, there you go.
My name's Rodney Stanley. I'm asking for a variance to put a new double wide in trail land. It's on a lot we had obtained actually from family a few years back with the intent, because there was a double wide on the land, and just never dreamed there'd be, problem putting a new one back till I went and got my packet of all the requirements. And what we're asking for is 8 foot off the front.
Move to open the public hearing.
Public hearing is now open. Board members have any questions?
Yeah. Which way you consider in the front? This way or this way? Like from front is this way?
So, help me, because I couldn't see that. Is that to Sale Road or
Yeah.
Sally Road?
Sally Street.
Like this is the
Street.
front.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Any further questions?
What size is your mobile home?
It's a 30 by 60, which I think is like a 28-foot box.
I take it there's nothing else on the lot?
No, sir. Just my brother beside me in the alleyway.
Anybody in the audience like to speak for or against this gentleman's request? Go ahead and close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing?
Second. Public hearing is now closed. Well, that was unanimous.
I make a motion that we,
Yes,
I
ma'am.
make
you
a
may.
motion that we grant this variance with the dimension of his mobile home. It only allows him 30 feet for front and back. And I feel like it's in harmony with the rest of the residences around him, and that it would put him at a hardship, especially with the size and shape of his lot, to do otherwise.
Second.
Well, okay, we have a motion to accept as written. We also have a second. Any opposed? Motion carried. Variance granted.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda tonight is 1463.06, Tract 4D1, 43.46 acre tract of land, and Lot 1A1 of Riverview subdivision for Joe Bro, located on the south side of Homeport Drive, approximately 8,700 feet, 1.64 miles, east of LA Highway 22.
Move to open the public hearing.
Public hearing now open. Go ahead, sir.
Good afternoon. I'm Carl Leader. I'm here tonight with Alvin Fairburn and Associates. I'm here representing Mr. Kelly J. Bro, as well as the owner of Lot 1A1. And we're asking for something that's pretty simple. A property line is skewed. We would like to straighten that property line up. It would be more perpendicular to the road. And the reason why we're here is because this lot was created before the zoning was implemented in the parish. It does not meet the minimum lot size, but it does meet the minimum lot frontage. We're only asking for minimum lot size, not frontage. It's in conservation, but it's only a quarter of an acre. If y'all have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
He just beat me to the punch. Does any board member have any questions?
No, I don't.
Anybody in the audience like to speak for or against this gentleman's request? No one? Public hearing?
Motion to close public hearing?
Second.
Public hearing is now closed. You can make a motion right now.
Yes, sir, I'd like to move, we approve this so that the gentleman can square his lot up. It was an unusual shape, and it's in harmony with the existing land.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and also a second on the floor to grant the variance as written. Any opposition? Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank y'all.
Variance granted, sir. Next on the agenda tonight is 1464.06 for Ronald M. Ellis. Now, hopefully that's correct.
Move to open the public hearing.
Second.
This property is located on the northwest end of Besk Road, approximately 950 feet west of Joseph Area Road.
You did that for me, thank you. I'm Ron Ellis, the 41452. This is my wife Donna. I bring her along because we've been married 27 years, and since '94 we've been together 24/7. So we do things pretty much together. We came down here in 1985 from Pennsylvania, so we're really Yankees, and we've tried to atone for that throughout the years, and we sort of helped that by being the local gunsmith for a number of years. I don't know if any of you have heard of Ron Ellis, but we've worked on a lot of firearms throughout the years. From '85 to about '94, we did a lot of gun work and had a business in the backyard there, working on guns and primarily building rifles. At one point, we were doing national rifles and a lot of African big game rifles. And in '94, well, we pretty much got caught between the gun business and a new business that we were starting, which was a particle size instrument business. We build an analyzer that measures very fine particles in industry, particles like bacteria spores, viruses, photographic particles. Some of our customers that you might recognize now are Kodak and Fuji, Agfa. All three of those major wet photographic people use our instruments to manufacture the old-style film. We don't think we'll sell a whole lot of instruments in the future because the digital business is coming through pretty heavy. But as we went towards the instrument business in '94, we pretty much figured the gun business was going to go by the wayside because we did a lot of shooting in the backyard. We have a range. We built a range building to control sound and where the bullets went, contain the bullets. But it was pretty obvious as time went on in Ascension Parish that this was not going to be a thing we could continue. And one of our claims to fame as a gunsmith or a gun producer was that we were able to test the guns we built. They weren't that much better than anybody else's, but when we tested them, they went out looking like they were. So we pretty much gave up the gun business. Some of you might have been here or been at some of the council meetings back in the 80s when there was a firearms ordinance being discussed, and we were in the center of that. And after we built our range building, our immediate neighbor, John, here, and we talked to him a number of times because we was very concerned about keeping them up and, too much noise, and he said it wasn't a problem. So that was, at least we did what we could to try to control the noise and be a good neighbor in that respect. But from '94 we introduced our first commercial instrument in the market. And from '94 until about 2000, the business continued to grow, and we got recognition in the industry. And of course, 2000, when the towers got demolished in New York, business was pretty poor. But fortunately, it came back. 2 years were pretty slow for everybody, I think, in the small business because a lot of people canceled budgets waiting to see what was going to happen. But when we moved down to Louisiana in '85. I did have a gunsmithing business in Pennsylvania, had some machine tools that had to be moved down here, and we actually had to build a building to house them in the backyard of our place. The property's about 3 acres. We have a house in the front, and the building that we built initially was 24 by 36, almost 900 square feet. Since, I'd say 2002, the business has grown very rapidly. We've put on some help, some workers, and really outstripped our space. When we moved onto the property, there was a tin shed, 900 square feet, about 30 by 30, which was a flat-topped tin shed. So we built a 900 square foot building, and there was about a 900 there. We added a connecting building, which was about 250 square feet. So the total we had at that time was about 1950 that we were operating in. Well, at the beginning of 2004, the tin shed, which was just a flat corrugated tin shed, started to leak pretty bad. Throughout the years, we'd taken out the wood floor that was there when we moved in. That had rotted away. We put a concrete floor in it. But we got to the point where it was leaking so bad in the shed we had to do something about it, and we're trying to use this for our business. We basically ran out of room, and we wanted to demolish what was leaking, so we decided to build a tin shed, or a metal building. So we tore down the 900 square foot building and put up a 40 by 60 light metal building with a zoning, a permit for a residential shed. Okay. Well, since then, we've come to realize that if we're grandfathered for some commercial operation, but the rule reads you can expand, help me on this, lady, you can expand 50% of the assessed value of the original building? Okay, dollar-wise, though.
Right.
Okay. So the problem we ran into is we got a building that we originally built by ourselves. It's a slab and frame, about 900 and some square feet. Probably assesses at, I don't know, I didn't bother to get it assessed, but it's not very much. And the problem we're having with the business now is we need to dress up, we need to clean up our operations so we can show ourselves, okay? We don't have facilities to have anybody come visit us. We've had repeated requests from customers who want to do what they do, quality audits. They want to come in and see that we're up to snuff on the way we do things and that we're, in the modern sense, quality conscious. we don't have a place for them, and frankly, we got my 2 sons work there, my wife works there, we have 4 employees. The shop was designed for 1 or 2 men. You can imagine how they're tripping over each other. So basically, we want to dress up the place, which should help the overall appearance of the property, but we also want to provide for customers to come in and recognize us. And why I'm not moving somewhere else, I really got a lifestyle from '94 to present where I like working in my backyard. That's where I stand now. And I just can't rationalize the rule with the square footage or the capital. So I'd like a variance so that we could finish our building and move our business in there and accomplish some of our goals.
Okay, thank you, sir. Does any board member have any questions at this time? No. Does anybody in the public have anything to like to speak for or against this gentleman's request?
I'll speak for.
By all means, come up, sign the registration, and state your name.
My name is Jerry Huff. I own the property. I think it's 173A, 41475 Best Road, and not only does Mr. Ron, we don't have, we're kind of isolated out there. We're not stacked on top of each other. Nobody's buying out the land or any of that, and they're back in the corner. I have a 13-year-old son now who I expect will go to work for Mr. Ron in the future years. So he's providing our whole area service as much as he is just, working.
Good neighbor.
Good neighbor. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, sir, for your comment.
Question for him. What size is the overall lot that this is on with the home?
Just under 3 acres. It's about
3 acres?
2.5 or something like that.
Does any other board member have any further questions? Anyone? Yeah.
Hang on a second.
Mr. Howard Madera.
Well, just hang on a second. I was looking at it. At one point, you said you had a portion that you tore down. That was what size was that?
That was 900 square feet, 30 by 30.
So actually, you went out back down, and then you've already added this building,
Yes.
but under residential and basically.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Okay.
Actually, we built a tent to supplement the operations that were going on in that tin building until Katrina rearranged it. The tent didn't hold up very well. Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Okay, that's all right.
I got one more thing to add to that also. It's not a loud business. They're not beating and banging. You don't hear them working.
Okay, thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
I think it's quieter than the gun business one.
Anyone else in the public would like to speak for or against? No one?
Motion to close public hearing.
Second. Public hearing is now closed. Any further questions by this board? And do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move that this variance be granted and that it's continuous of the use that the land's been put to, so therefore it's in harmony. It's a permitted use. If the variance is necessary for its reasonable use and growth, and it's on a large piece of land, so that it's not going to come up against anybody else's properties.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor to accept the variance as written. Any opposition? Motion carries. Variance granted, sir.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Next on the agenda is 1465.06 for Burnside Development LLC. It's located on the south side of Loosemore Road, approximately 2,500 feet north of LA Highway 44.
Move to open public hearing.
Public hearing is now open.
Good evening. If we could take just a few moments, colleagues passing out some information to you folks and
Some handouts. Thanks, sir.
Let's
see these okay? Thank you for hearing us again. My name is Murray McCullough with Benchmark Group, LLC, Baton Rouge, 9342 Lindell Avenue. We're here before you again this month requesting certain variances for a planned development on Loosemore Road. This property, again, is 277 acres, upon which we propose to develop 424 single-family lots. It's a density of 1.53 units per acre, which is well below the density allowed in this particular development. The reasons for our resubmittal are these. We've revamped the plan and we've changed it, and we've actually have more lots in compliance with the current zoning ordinance, and I'll give you some numbers. Meeting the regulations, that is the minimum frontage and the minimum square footage, we have 184 lots on the new plan. The new plan is here to my left, and the one you have before you. We have 184 lots. That's 43% of the development, as opposed to 15% in the last submittal. In a summary, if I could just make a quick summary, last submittal, 25% of the lots met the 20,000 square foot minimum size, as in this particular plan, 48%, almost 50%, half the lots meet the minimum square footage requirements. Although some of those lots are we're asking for variances in the frontage, and you have that information in front of you. It was mentioned at the last meeting that there was little effort made as a proof to a hardship. So, as an attempt to satisfy that requirement, I'd like to propose the following. This particular plan, folks, is what is allowed by ordinance. This actually is more lots, 20 or 30 more lots than actually what we're proposing. This plan we could do without any variances whatsoever. First off, the neighbors, the surrounding folks are in objection to this particular plan, but this is what is allowable. Open ditch subdivision with minimum retention, because we can actually use the open ditches as a retention, as part of our retention bases in our design. We've been asked, it's as a matter of policy, not a matter of ordinance. We've been asked to develop our particular project as curb and gutter subsurface drainage, which quite frankly we're willing to do because it's more appealing. It's a more benefit to the surrounding areas, even though some of the surrounding subdivisions are open ditch. Because of that, it's causing us to increase our stormwater management requirements for the development. So instead of having a 9-acre lake, we're having a 25-acre lake, plus including an existing 5-acre lake that's there. So, a total of roughly 30 acres in detention pond that actually will be an amenity to this development and to the adjacent properties. Furthermore, additional hardship, about a third of this property, or somewhere thereabouts, along Loosemore Road, actually drains into another watershed. It's really more appropriate for it to drain toward the Panama Canal, and we have actually been requested, I personally have been requested by the Department of Public Works for us to take that water that is overburdening a system, another drainage outfall system, to take that water, collect it within our system, run it through our stormwater management system, and then discharge it into the Panama Canal. So that's another hardship that at the request of the powers that be in the parish that we've been asked to do. We feel that we're willing to do it, but we feel like it's it is a burden on the property, because it does cause us to increase our stormwater management requirements. It causes the ponds to be larger, and what we're trying to do is take this plan, which has more lots, which is capable to do, develop the proposed plan, which is here on my left, which is a professional plan development by degreed, licensed professionals that do this type of work. We're actually having less lots because of our retention requirement. Now, there have been another issue that was raised last meeting, was that a meeting with the adjacent property owners. I have evidence before me by virtue of messages, written messages that were sent as follow-up to verbal messages, voice messages that were left on be it cell phones or house voicemails, in an attempt to meet with the adjacent property owners to assure them that we're going to develop curb and gutter streets and we're going to do certain things that they requested us to do. So in an attempt to make this a legally binding type issue, the developers have actually contracted with or not contracted with, that's the wrong term. They've actually hired an attorney, Mr. Marchand, who's here tonight, and I'll let him speak to this, to draft a letter on their behalf, which is a commitment letter that if this body will approve our request tonight, and we're able to go forward to the next step, which is the Planning Commission, this letter would then become binding upon the developers, and they're willing to do it because they're doing it on their own behalf, for their own for their own purposes, to make this binding, that it will become part of that plan approval and then become part of public record as a matter of ordinance and a matter of public record. It becomes then binding on the developers to do it. So if you don't mind, I'd like to get Mr. Marchand, ask Mr. Marchand to come up and speak to his involvement in this.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen.
Before you start speaking, Mr. Marchand, I'm going to allow you to have 5 minutes because for contractors and representatives, I give them 5 minutes. For individuals, I give 3. So,
thank you. I appreciate the variance. I was contacted a few weeks ago to address the concern that the commitment that this group was making would be binding on them and on any successors who might develop this project. To that end, I suggested a letter which would set out the specific commitments that they're making and the timetable that they would comply with this. And I stand here tonight ready to work with Mr. Parrington in any reasonable form he suggests to incorporate this into the public record. If it's suggested that these conditions be a condition of the variance, so be it. My client is willing and able and committed to do these things. And they've circulated the letter. I believe you may have copies of the letter. And it sets out specifically and addresses the concerns that they're willing to pay for, that they're willing to construct, and when they're going to do it. Y'all haven't seen the letter?
I haven't.
No,
Okay.
the only letter we have is the white Poirier.
Okay, the letter I'm speaking of is an April 19th letter, and it says specifically that they agreed to pay $200,000 towards a turn lane project, and they will do that whenever they start construction of the improvements. They also, and I believe Mr. McCullough has addressed the issue of routing the drainage along Loosemore Road and incorporating that into the drainage of this project. That's specifically addressed in the letter. Also providing a buffer zone in the front along Loosemore Road, and they describe in detail what they're going to provide. It's an earthen berm of a certain height and a certain width, landscaping, culverts, bicycle path. They also are willing to commit to a binding incorporation into their building restrictions of certain sizes of the homes on certain type of lots. They would, as I said, these particular provisions are not just talk, they're not just discussion, they've put them in writing, they're willing to make it a condition of the permit. And if you have any other questions of me, other than that, I would work with Mr. Parrington in any form he would suggest to make this binding.
Does any board member have a question for this gentleman in particular?
No, but I have one for the other gentleman.
Okay, well, let's bring him. Let's bring him forward. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it.
Appreciate your time. Thank you.
Sir, could you? Yes, sir. Let him approach. Go ahead.
Yes, sir. You mentioned that you had been requested to do a curb and gutter subdivision. Who specifically requested you to do
Engineering review agent. In the planning, engineering review agent, the ERA.
Okay, but it was
Mr. Sanji.
Okay, so it was the parish.
Yeah, it was representative of the parish. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I just want to make that clear. And the drainage requirements for the other areas, who asked you to do that?
I was specifically asked by Mr. Rue, face-to-face
This is a
meeting.
parish official.
Yes, sir.
So
That's
basically,
correct.
this hardship of the financial burden to do this has been basically placed upon you by the parish. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay,
That's
sir.
exactly
That's fine.
what
I just want to get that clear for the record.
And I don't want to belabor the issue, but if I may speak to one thing that Mr. Marchand mentioned. He mentioned in the letter of commitment $200,000 that our clients have agreed to put up for intersection improvements at Loosemore Road. I think there's a timing issue here as well as that. Now, that's not the commitment is there. But let's be honest. The state highway department is getting ready to issue contracts for the improvements of Highway 44. For improvements of Highway 44. As I understand it, Mr. Rue and Mr. Ronnie Carter, representatives of District 61 of LADOTD, have met, and Mr. Carter would like to have any redesign of that intersection, which will be a redesign of the intersection, and improvements of the intersection, included as a revision to the current contract. So time is of the essence of that as well, and we think it's. I don't mean to be uppity about this, but we have a check in hand, we get the plan approved. The developers close the sale of the lot. They put the development loan in process, and there's a check in hand to $200,000, and the $200,000 going to the parish for intersection improvements. And not only is it going to benefit this development, it's going to benefit the problems that currently exist right there today. And quite frankly, I mean, you may, I think you would agree with me. I think that's a pretty big benefit to the parish. But given the, what took place last time, I think that that we've proven that there is a hardship for us coming back. And thank you, folks, for letting us come back again. We appreciate it very much. Thank you for hearing us. If there are any questions.
Another question. Why have y'all not pursued the PUD development?
And I'm going to speak to that as well. First off, this was submitted prior to the PUD ordinance coming in, and we've kind of gone down that road, and we've continued down that road. But secondly, in my way of thinking, the PUD ordinance, while it's a good ordinance, has not been tested in the parish yet. And by conversations we've had with the powers that be, we're looking at a probably 8 to 12 month period to get the plan approved. The developers can go through with that particular issue, but I think that you've got, one of the issues we're coming back here before you with is you have a fellow citizen that wants to do a very nice professionally designed project that's holding a $200,000 check in his hand that wants to give to the parish. He quite frankly can't do that until he puts his development loan in place, till he closes the sale of the lot and puts his development loan in place. That money would then be available. If we go to the PUD process, which we very well could do, it's you're looking at about an 8 to 12 month period by all estimates that we've had based on our review of it and conversations we've had with the Planning Commission. So that in and of itself is another reason why we're here before you tonight is some timing issues. We want to get this into the works with the State Highway Department. So again, I hope I answered your question.
I have a couple of questions.
And if I could add just one thing, I'm sorry that I failed to state. Again, I did state this. We started down this road prior to the PUD ordinance being in place, and it was actually recommended to us to proceed to continue down this particular road. And we thought we revised the plan. We made it less fewer requirements for a waiver, if you will, much fewer reductions in lot areas over the 20,000 square foot requirement within this area, and that's why we're here before you tonight. We think we have a better plan. It's and we respectfully ask that you grant us approval.
So let me just ask you a couple of questions. First off, how much of that piece of property is considered wetlands or declared wetlands?
Wes, did you read that? Did you read the determination? And we can find that information out to you. As part of my consulting, I don't do wetlands delineations. That's been done separately. It hasn't been finalized yet, but there is some.
Do you know how much is declared wetlands right now? Okay, so you don't know if you could build that neighborhood over there because the one you proposed or that you said could be built if you didn't have the variance based on the fact that you don't know how much of it is wetlands. That's all I'm getting at here.
Well, let me say this. What I'm speaking to here is the requirements of the parish ordinance. The wetlands issue is a federal government issue.
Well, I understand. I just want to make sure I have it all clear in my head, because you said if you didn't get the variance to do this, that you could do this other neighborhood that you held up a poster a minute ago.
In accordance with the parish ordinance,
what I'm asking is could that be done if I don't know what the number is, 40% of the property is wetlands, could that still be done?
Absolutely. The Corps of Engineers will allow you to buy wetlands credits. Yes, it could be done.
Okay.
So it could be done. You know, there's some steps to go through at the federal government level, but yes, sir, it could be done.
Okay. Well, I agree with that, but you know,
that's not before us.
The question I was trying to get at is, could it be done? Okay. You said in your comments a minute ago that you had left messages on some voicemails or whatever, some recording messages and stuff to meet with a lot of the homeowners and stuff. When did that transpire?
I have a couple of messages, email messages before me that was sent to leaders in that area to try to get a meeting with the adjacent property owners. If you would, sir, I would like to have you ask that question of the person who left the messages and actually sent them. I have evidence, copies of the messages here, but if we could get Mr.
I'd just like
Mr.
to know when
Chauvin
those messages were left. Was that left in the last 48 hours? Or?
To be more precise, Mr. Chauvin can answer that question. Yeah, right here.
Yes. Please sign in, state your name. Hold on.
Spencer Chauvin. Are you referring to any individual? Or
Well, no, the comments he made about messages being left on some, I think, voice recorders, he said, or something like that, or whatever, at people's homes and possibly emails that sent. I'd just like to find out, were those done in the last 24 to 48 hours, or were they trying to meet with them at a convenient time for them? Did they start a week or two ago, or?
I didn't see the letter, so I don't know which individuals we're talking about. Or denied, or being told that they didn't get contacted. So,
I didn't say anybody didn't get contacted. He said that y'all tried to leave messages to meet with the residents to find out if there was any opposition or find out any concerns they had.
Okay.
Okay. All I'm trying to find out is when were those messages? When did y'all try? Did you try in the last 24 hours and you couldn't meet with anybody?
It's been a long process. It started with the sheriff about 2 weeks ago. And just several individuals in between then, and lasting on through to the weekend.
Okay.
So
for about a week, then y'all been trying to get hold of the residents in the area.
Correct.
Okay. And how many of them did y'all actually meet with?
I couldn't tell you right now. I know I met with Mr. Semino. I talked with Mr. Ronnie Brown on the phone. We spoke with Miss Kathy. We tried to get in touch with the sheriff. Those were the main people who were really concerned about the project.
Okay.
So we met with Mr. Fekasi, Mr. Brejon in Plantation Oaks. We met with Mr. Scheck-Snyder.
Okay. So met with several people individually is what you're saying. You never
Correct.
had like a little group meeting where you, okay.
Well, we did have a group meeting prior to that, but within the last few weeks we met individually.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
I appreciate it. I have a question for
Go ahead. Mr. O'Neill.
Can that letter that they're trying to attach to the variance become binding? Is it binding, or can it become binding?
It says in our regulations that the board may prescribe any safeguard that it deems necessary to secure substantially the objectives of the regulations or provisions to which the variance applies. Based on that, I think you could require every one of these to be a condition of granting the variance, with the understanding that this is only the variance and has nothing to do with the approval of the drainage or anything like that by the parish, because that's a planning and zoning matter. But from the legal standpoint, I think it is binding. I think if you make it a condition, they're offering it as a condition of the variance, and if you accept that, I think it is specifically stated in there.
Stated in your, if you want to make a motion.
And I'm not saying whether you want to or not, I'm just telling you that.
Right, but if we did state that in there, then that would become a binding, legal binding document.
Condition for the variance.
Yes.
Only.
Okay, I have an additional question for you, because earlier today, you had indicated to me that it had to be made a part of the variance request when we were talking, the letter.
No, I meant it had to be a part of the variance.
Okay.
That-
So, if we make it part of the variance, can we add additional conditions to it, or no? It's only the conditions in the letter that can be added as part of the variance.
Well, they've offered these conditions.
Okay, that's what I'm asking.
I mean, I don't think you can make any others unless they're willing to agree to them and include them in the variance.
Okay,
Can one follow up on that? Can she not make conditions if she makes a motion for this? And if we approve it with those conditions, I mean, what's the difference in that and any other conditions we put as far as fencing and shrubs and all that on other variances? What's the difference?
Well, they don't have to accept they don't have to comply with the variance.
Right, but if we approve it with those conditions, for them to continue with it,
As long as they're
they have to-
reasonable, yes. As long as they're within the scope of the authority of the board.
Question for the other gentleman. I'm sorry. Yes, sir. I'm sorry. I'm real bad about names. I apologize. Okay. Explain just real quick again. I know you explained it a minute ago. Okay. So you're probably duplicating yourself, but maybe I didn't totally understand. The agree to pay the sum of $200,000. When would that happen?
It's my understanding, and we can get verification from that would happen, when the developers have an approved plan before them that they know they have something to go forward to. They will close the sale of the land, because right now they have a contract to purchase the land. They will close the sale of the land, put the development loan in place, and then that contribution would be made at that particular time.
Okay.
Time frame. If you ask me to give you an estimate, I mean, we're going before if this is approved tonight, it goes before the planning commission.
Okay. I'm not. Let me just stop real quick. I'm
Yeah.
not asking you to give me a time frame, okay, and all that. Just and basically, I think you answered the question. And I'm not a lawyer, okay, but the way this is written, and if it's going to become binding and legal to this variance, then I certainly would want legal counsel to tell me, okay, it says this $200 payment will be made at the latter of the following times for wit, and it's got A and B is approval of the proposed center turn lane project by the Department of Transportation. Okay, so if they don't propose it, then if that's the latter of the two. I mean, am I understanding the latter of the two?
Yes. I spoke with Mr. Rue today about this because I got a copy of this today too, and he says he advised me that the state has already let the contract out for Highway 44. This would be an add-on, and that the engineer wants to, if this deal goes through, and I'm not saying one way or the other, that that they would add it on and they would require the payment upon, because the project has already been let.
Okay.
All they would do, the approval would be just amending the original contract.
Okay.
And they can get a change order on the contract, which would makes it, they wouldn't have to rebid the whole project.
Right. Okay. So then.
And from a technical note, the funds to do the intersection improvement in the current contract are not available. This $200,000 makes that available. And as I stated before, the time frame, as Mr. Parrington just said, he understands the contract has been let. So I mean, it's fairly critical to get it done, get it in, and get it in this contract. And you're not paying additional mobilization costs for contracts. That mobilization cost of that $200,000 goes toward intersection improvement. So I think it's I think it's a good time, and I think as I stated, when the development loan is put in place, which will be shortly subsequent to a plan approval, and they know they can go forward with the development, all that's going to take place. $200,000 check be forthcoming, very, very post haste, because our clients are committed to try to get this intersection improvements done in this current state contract that has just been let.
Okay, and the last question I had on this letter is one of the last items, number 5, where you had included and said building restrictions and architectural control committee which shall require approval of the exterior design materials and dimensions of all homes of all the subject lots. Where is that control committee going to come from? Who's going to appoint that? Is that something that the council's going to have to appoint, or?
No, well, that control committee would be set forth in the covenants, conditions, and restrictions for the subdivision. It'll be made up probably of the developers at first, and any architect they may contract with, and ultimately it would be turned over to the homeowners association for their. That's typically what's done.
Okay.
For controls.
Because I mean, I just curious. Is that something y'all did, or is it the homeowners association or whoever the covenants? And that answers the question.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Anything else,
I have a
ma'am?
couple questions
Yes, ma'am.
for you. The $200,000 for the turn lanes, there was some discussion at one point that this was going to include a red light. Mr. Parrington, in your discussions with Mr. Rue today, did he say anything about the 200,000, and it was strictly for turn lanes, or was it turn lanes and a red light?
I don't know what it was. Bill, my discussion was Bill's to ask him about this, where this come about. He said that was what, after speaking with the state, that's whatever the improvements were that they were saying was going to be needed would be, the 200,000 would go for that. I don't know if there's a red light or not. That's the state's decision whether they put a light there or not anyway. That wouldn't be, he'd have no control over that, nor neither would the parish. That would be the state design engineers. Even if you wanted a red light and they said it doesn't warrant one, you don't get it.
Did the traffic impact study, how did that address it that you had done on the property? Who did the traffic impact?
Krebs Lemieux did the traffic impact study.
And what did it reveal?
Wes, do you recall what it revealed at that intersection improvement?
Go ahead.
Councilman Shakespeare, and I would like to address the issue with the light. It was something that we have been pursuing, Mr. Rue and I, very diligently to try to get a light at that intersection because we think it's a very dangerous intersection. And in Mr. Rue's discussion with DODT, they said they would be willing to commit to doing the turning lane intersection there if the parish, through a developer, would put up the monies, which they'll commit in this project. And he said if they do that, then that justifies them to be able to come back and put up a light, and the state would put up the light. Now, he's not going to do anything in writing. These are the engineers, but they said this is common practice that they would do that in those situations.
Well,
so we're taking them on their word on that from the State Department.
But it's the state has the final decision.
Right, it's their final decision anyway.
In the state.
But the
even if they
representative,
pay for it,
right.
It makes no difference. If they don't want a stoplight, they're not going to get a stoplight.
Exactly. Because we've requested one in the past, and they said if y'all do the intersection improvements, and this was a word of mouth from them, that the state would go ahead and put up the light.
If they don't want to put it up, they're not going to put it up.
So they did.
And I would say this, that if the state deemed that there's a signalization in there, there's nothing prohibiting $200,000 to be used toward that improvement, so.
And what was the results of the traffic impact study?
Traffic impact study state, go ahead, sir.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Go ahead.
Okay. The traffic impact study indicated that there were some improvements, including possible signalization of the intersection at that particular location. Again, that goes to State Highway Department approval. That's you know,
really.
Yeah.
Yeah, because no matter what we say, we can't make a condition, any condition like that, because that's way beyond our scope.
Okay, and you discussed curb and gutter, but that wasn't part of your letter of commitment. Would you be willing to add curb and gutter to your commitment?
Yes, ma'am. I'm going to just simply say yes, ma'am. Our submittal to the to the Planning Commission for their approval indicates that our street section will be curb and gutter subsurface drainage. So, absolutely.
Okay, and then my next question is, I think it's already been mentioned before, we were at a real estate development meeting today, and one of the topics was one entrance subdivisions, and that it was counterproductive for good real estate development. There has been some question brought up that the Burnside development or whoever buys this property also is buying property that would lead access possibly to Donaldson. Now, there was some question whether you were going to legally own that property or who legally owned that property. Have you been able to determine further if that ownership is part of that property or not?
Well, I think the question was the right-of-way that was dedicated and unimproved in Donaldson subdivision, Plantation Oaks subdivision off of Donaldson Drive, was that actually still in place, or had it gone back to the adjacent property owners because it had never been improved? I was under the impression, Mr. Parrington, I don't recall, but I was under the impression that at our last meeting that was satisfied that right-of-way didn't exist. Although I will tell you, we're stubbing out a street there. Our plan proposes to stub out a street there.
Okay. And Next question would be, at one point, there was a discussion that there might be an emergency exit at the rear of the subdivision. Is that still in play, or?
Yes, ma'am. I think there's been some, I know there's been some discussion about the possibility of, if you look at the plan on the west side of our property, there are a couple of stub-out streets. If you look at the one furthest north, there's a T turnaround, but there's a little area there that leads to the property line. What is being proposed there, Wes, correct me if I'm wrong, but what is being proposed there is getting emergency servitude of access, if you will, through the adjacent property owner as a second means of emergency ingress and egress from the project on the property next door to Loosemore Road, with the understanding that if that property were ever developed, then they would have to do something similar to us. There would be connectivity, there would be multiple entrances. But for the purposes of this particular development, we are proposing that there be an emergency entrance for emergency vehicles, and, you know, people need to get out if there's an accident at the intersection, whatever the case may be. So, yes, ma'am, we are proposing that.
Okay, and then my final question to you is, in some of my discussions with, I'm sorry, I don't know Spencer's last name. There was a discussion about a sewer lift that was going to be in the front of the subdivision. That was not part of the letter. So is that still a commitment?
Well, what our current plan, are you opposed to that? Are you asking it to be there?
That's what I'm asking you. Are you willing to make that commitment?
And I'm sorry, ma'am, can you ask me to state the commitment again? Are you thinking there's going to be a lift?
It was a sewer lift.
Okay.
That's what I was told.
We're already planning to put the treatment plant in the rear of the subdivision. I think that's what you want, so that's what we're asking.
What he had explained to me, that there was going to be a sewer lift towards the front, so that if
Yes.
the parish ever went to a sewer system, that it would already be there.
Oh, yes,
The parish
absolutely.
would
Yes,
not have
okay.
to
Now
additionally-
it's very clear to me. I
Okay,
apologize.
well,
Our plan does show that.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am,
And
there
this
would
is
be.
all fine and good. Let me kind of reiterate it here a little bit, what our board is for.
Get to it.
We're here to show hardships, okay?
Yes, sir.
And this is more on the planning and zoning issue that you have to face afterwards. And I'm kind of condensed my time here a little bit, and these are all valid questions by all means. They're all valid questions, but there again, it does not face me tonight as a board. And I mean, the commitment, the letter that you have already established us with the comment of this gentleman. We can make conditions, that condition, and I think we need to limit our questions to that, because you're going to be facing zoning issues, and, well, you can address those there.
Mr. Chairman, thank you for that. I appreciate your comments there, because we very much agree with that.
I'm not going to sit here and let you think that we're giving you these conditions of access roads.
Yes, sir, I
and
understand.
everything else, which is not in our charter.
Yes, sir. And what we're asking respectfully is let us go to the next level where those conditions are put on us. I mean, let us get there.
That's what we're trying to determine here,
And-
is your hardship.
and that's what we're
We're not
actually
trying
saying.
to determine or redesign your subdivision.
And we appreciate that. Any other questions? Thank you very much for your time. We would certainly appreciate you letting us come before you again.
I want to open up the public. This is where I'm going with this right now. Does anybody in the audience want to speak in opposition to this gentleman's request? I see no one standing forward. Okay. With that said, let's go ahead and close public hearing, please.
Motion to close public hearing.
Second.
Public hearing now closed. Gentlemen and lady, I want to, again, I'm reiterating what I just said before, and I know y'all heard me do a little song and dance here, but let's keep it to what's in our charter, okay?
Mr. Chairman, could I make a motion, please?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I'd like to move that this be approved for the following reasons. It is definitely smart growth. It is less dense than what could be done. There is hardship presented by the parish requesting certain things be done, both drainage-wise, curb and gutter development, and this kind of thing. Additionally, what we're granting would grant here would be the variance. There's additional checks and balances in place at the Zoning and Planning Commission level. So therefore, in view of all that has gone on and been said and done, and their willingness to voluntarily commit to certain things that legal counsel says would be binding, et cetera, I would like to make a motion that this variance be approved as granted with the accompanying letter of commitment.
Are you adding the curb and gutter requirement because it's not in the letter?
No, I'm
No,
not,
that-
because
that-
that's,
once again, that goes,
that's another level.
that's
not
another
us.
level than us.
I think we can add that, he
Yes.
volunteered it.
Okay, then put it in.
Volunteered to do it.
Then
So
put it in
we
there.
can add that to this letter.
If that's what you want to do, he's making the motion.
All right,
He said no.
then go ahead, let's put it in there. If the developer has no heartburn with that wording,
He said he didn't.
He didn't.
then make it in there.
You need a further agreement to the curb and gutter issue?
No, we're
Yeah.
just,
Okay.
No, we just
No.
want to clarify the motion on the floor.
Right, correct. I just want to make sure.
everybody understand what my motion
It is
was?
clear that this is a piece of it, what it
He's
states
agreed
in here,
to.
along with curb and gutter added to
Correct.
it.
I'll second the motion in that case.
Okay. We have a motion with the conditions, and I think we don't need to go over those conditions again.
Bob, the letter, it's the letter which was submitted and which we're going to give to Ms. Union. She's going to add, there's 6 conditions with some subparts.
Okay.
So there are 5, we're adding 6 to curb and gutter.
The letter dated April 19th, correct, for the record?
Okay, we also have a second on the floor. Any opposition? Any opposed?
Opposed?
We have one opposed. Anyone else? Motion carries, variance is granted. Next on the agenda tonight is, as I said earlier, 1466.06 has been removed. 1467.06, A4, A 4.72 acre tract of land situated in Donaldson Plantation and Burnside Plantation. Property is located on the north side of LA 942 River Road, approximately 19 feet west of LA Highway 44. Go ahead, sir. Please state your name.
My name's Kevin Kelly. I'm the owner of Burnside Plantation, LLC, which is actually the owner of Homus House Plantation. Totally, we have 38 acres at the site of the historic plantation, and the property is parceled into 4 separate parcels. And I am proposing to build a bed and breakfast, which has 82 rooms at the site. And this is a very high-end luxury B&B that we're proposing for the way we've developed the property. Homus House, not only is it a historic house, but we have built a pavilion and a restaurant that was it's rated one of the luxury resorts in the country today, and we're further developing that approach. And in the next phase of the development is to build this 82-room B&B, which has dining facilities. And in the same phase, we're building an additional 6-acre garden and another facility for, which is called, we haven't named the pavilion yet, but it's another dining facility that will hold up to 800 people for special events, weddings and corporate events and things like that. And the size of the B&B has been made to 82 rooms because that's the efficient number of rooms to run a hotel of this or a B&B of this magnitude, because typically you're handling 2 buses at a time for a tour group. This is being developed for the luxury European traveler. And you might think in this area that when they come in to Louisiana to come into plantation country, bayou country, and those things, you might think they're coming in to see New Orleans for a little while and then coming to do bayou country. But in fact, they're coming to plantation and bayou country and have avoided New Orleans because to Europeans, New Orleans is a new modern city. It's not a historical city like most of us in the United States feel about it. So they come here to see the unique countryside of southeast Louisiana. And there's a huge market for a facility like this, primarily because there are none that do exist. There really aren't any luxury-style hotels or B&Bs in the Baton Rouge market to service this type of facility or these types of travelers. So with the 88 rooms, we needed to build a building that had the mass to handle 2 buses And we've developed a facility that is 6 stories tall. It comes to 89 feet in height. It's roughly 160 feet in one direction, and I believe it's 60 feet in the other direction. And the size and mass of this was developed through the design work of our architects and our designer and our historian, who created not a replica, but a similarity to the sugar mill that was at Homer's house, which was almost identical, the same size. It was a little taller, it was a little larger in one direction, a little narrower in the other, and didn't exactly line up to the way we need to have 20 rooms on a floor. Part of the uniqueness of the B&B is that the first floor, we're providing balconies to most of the rooms, not all the rooms, and the balconies are meant so that people can go on them and overlook the river and see. So the first floor of the rooms needs to be at an elevation that's 20 foot high in order to be able to see over the levees that are there. And it's, as you may know, Homer's house is in the crescent of the river, I suppose, where you get great views. And this house will be able to see all those. So the placement of the B&B was made where the trees were the least significant, so that when we placed it, it was amongst the trees. So there's about a 30-foot tree line that's on the side closest to Homer's house, and there's another about 350 feet of trees on the opposite side. We're 90 feet back from Highway 942, which has trees there, and we're another approximately 400 trees to the rear. So it's historically and for the feeling of the place, we wanted it to be amongst the trees, and so that it's not an obvious new building. And the way it's designed, which you may see on one of the monitors, it is very much in the order of the old sugar mill. But of course, sugar mills didn't have lots of windows, they didn't have balconies and things like that. So it is adorned to make it usable for that way. But we had this one area where there were a lack of trees or a lack of any of the great old trees, because most of the trees at Homer's house are at least 100 years old, and many of them are up to 500 years old. And I suppose our hardship for our height variance that we're asking for is so that all of the B&B rooms do have the ability to see over the levee and not destroy some of the great old oak trees that are there. In the 4 parcels we have, Homer's house is on the second parcel, and this B&B will be 700 feet from the mansion itself. So it's quite a distance away. And for those who can't picture 700 feet, it's 2.5 blocks away. So visually it won't be impacted. Other than being in a plane, there is no eyesight vision that would allow you to see the B&B and Homer's house plantation at the same time. There are many lines of trees that block the visuals, but it's so far away. Yes, huh?
The map that they had just a second ago show that where it would be? Yeah.
Yes.
In relationship to the mansion. I'm sorry, about the third picture you had. And I apologize for interrupting you.
No problem.
Give a portion of where it would be.
I have a map here if this works.
On the slide.
Yeah, it was about the third picture. I wanted to
It's
see
about the third or fourth
The-
that you showed.
right there.
We could reduce the height of the building, but if we did that, it wouldn't resemble the original sugar mill that was on the property. And we really feel historically it's very important to copy the style of the sugar mill, which had a large hip roof. The roof on the building is actually 36 feet in height. So by removing that, I hate to say it, but the building would look like, it just wouldn't look very historical. It would have a flat roof, which would never have been appropriate. Homer's house at one time had up to, I believe it was 7 or 9 sugar mills, and the larger of the sugar mills were actually larger than this one. So we don't think it's out of line historically to have a building like this. And the most important thing, I suppose, height-wise, is the trees surrounding where the B&B will be are 131 feet tall, and the B&B will be 89 feet tall. So we think it's partitioned off fairly well.
If you don't mind my asking, what fire district does that fall in?
I don't know, but because the fire laws on buildings, this is not considered a high-rise building because the floor of the top floor is at less than 70 foot. So it's considered the standard for what the fire departments in this area are. That was all done in part of the design. The large hip roof at the top is, I don't want to say it's decorative. I mean, it's a real roof, but it's not inhabited up at the top. It is a fully fire sprinkled building also, with fire pumps, with generators to operate the entire facility, including air conditioning, fire sprinkler systems, and everything like that.
That was my question, because I think it's probably Hillryville area is a volunteer fire department. I was just wondering if they would be equipped to. That's
They
part of
are.
the things that we need to look at as far as public safety goes.
And we also have a diesel pump that pumps the water for the fire sprinkler system because the pressure in the water in that area is not very good.
How would the parking for this building affect your historic area? Because I know this is going to take sure a good number of spaces to park.
It will. We currently offer 120 parking spaces, which is very rare to use other than when we're having the major events. For most major events, people are bused to the facility, and this B&B will primarily be having buses coming to it. But in the proposal, we're also building an additional 300 parking spaces, and part of them, the new pavilion is actually raised, and the parking will be underneath the new pavilion. And there will be parking going to the rear of the property along the railroad tracks, as well as going back to the western side of the property. Currently, we get about 15 trains passing a day, and we hope to use the parking sort of as a buffer for that, and then landscape it very heavily so that we can block the sounds. The new 6 acres of gardens also will have walls along the railroad track to deflect the sounds of the rail cars also.
Public, anybody in the audience like to speak for or against this gentleman's request? No one coming forward? Close the public hearing, please.
Motion to close public hearing.
Public hearing is now closed. Does the board have any further questions? We have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I would move that this variance be approved as granted. It's excellent land use. There is a hardship, which would justify the height, being the levees there, which would, this site situation with the elevation would offer a very excellent view of the river. It's harmonious with the purpose of the land, and historically, it's very pleasing to see somebody try to support that and keep it as a historical landmark. So I request this be approved as written.
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve as written. Any opposition? Motion carries. Variance is granted, sir.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda right now is 1477.06, Lot 17, the lake at Manchac, second filing, for Earl Donald Norman. Please sign in. State your name, sir.
We'll open the public hearing.
My name is Earl Norman.
Public hearing is now open.
I am applying for a variance. I think everybody has the plot plan for the Lake of Manchac. We're looking for a request for a variance of 4 feet 7 inches from the front building line for an open stoop, which is consistent of 2 columns. And it's wide open. The main part of the house is beyond the building restriction or the building line. And the reason why we're doing that is because the Lake of Manchac Boulevard came in and cut pretty severely into the lot where it's only 60 feet wide on the back side. And this would allow us to have at least one window in our breakfast area according to the plans. So I don't think it's a big thing, but we're requesting that. Thank you. Any questions?
Excuse me, I just want to say that there is a typo. I have 10.4, it should be 20.4 on the request that I wrote up.
10.4 should be.
Yeah, it should, the owner would like to construct a home
Yeah.
instead of 10.4, it should be 20.4.
24.
I believe Miss June did that.
No one picks on Miss June. Let me make that publicly known.
By the way, this has been approved by the Lake at Manchac Homeowners Association.
Can I see that letter, sir?
Sure.
Please? I can leave you. I just kind of run through. Do we have anybody in the audience that, well, first of all, board, I apologize. Does anybody on the board have a question for this young man? I'm older than he is.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Public hearing is closed.
I make a motion to accept the variance as requested due to the hardship created by the unique shape of the property.
Second.
Do we have any opposition? Motion carries. A variance is granted, sir.
Thank you.
And here's your letter, sir. Looked like you did a lot of work. Wish they'd all do that. Next on the agenda. Next on the agenda is 1478.06, Lot 2 GA 1 for Cynthia Stafford. Have to say it. The question here. Then we have,
Open the public hearing.
Second.
public hearing is now open. Now let me ask you a question, board. We have no one representing this, and we can either defer it, or either we can act upon it now.
Let's act on it.
I would like to just recommend we act on it.
I'll second that. Let's do it.
If I need that motion, I'll make it a motion.
Okay.
Close the public hearing?
No, leave the public hearing open, because just in case there's somebody here that would like to talk about it.
Do you need a motion
Well, I
to
got-
continue to act on it, or?
No, we don't.
Okay.
I just want to get a consensus from this board.
We definitely need somebody to explain that.
Well, that's what I looked at earlier, and I wanted to talk to about it earlier, but unfortunately I got here too late. Okay. Does this board have any discussion?
Well,
I want to ask the public.
Okay.
Okay. Public, is there anybody in the audience that would like to speak for or against this variance, as I stated before? No one? Close public
Make a
hearing.
motion, we close public hearing.
Public hearing is now closed.
Make a motion that we reject the variance because of the, obviously it's not as important, and plus I'm very confused and with nobody here to explain this to me. Make a motion, we reject it.
Second.
We have a motion to reject. Any opposition? Motion carries. Variance is denied. Last on the agenda, 1479.06, Lot 4 for Rusty and Joseph Morgan. I guess it's Morgan. Moran. Been a bad night for names.
How y'all doing, ladies and gentlemen? Undoubtedly, y'all doing better than me. My name's Dale Bro with Dale Builders, here in Ascension Parish. I brought with me my son-in-law, which is the owner of the property, Rusty Joseph Moran. But my daughter is at home with the children. But what we're asking for is they have a 1 acre lot back there. It is 268 feet wide by 162.5 feet deep. And I have a trailer that I moved back there on the lot. But I'm not going to live in the lot. All these folks know where I live at, so I mean, there ain't no joke about none of this. You know, it's mine, but my son is going to live in it, which my daughter and son-in-law own it. They said that my son can live there, his brother-in-law and my daughter's brother. And that's what I understand I got to get the okay through y'all for my son to move in that trailer.
Yes, sir. And to
Well,
make it short,
that's what
yes.
I'm here to ask for, sir. That's what I'm here to ask for. There wasn't no sense in me trying to lie to y'all, tell y'all I was going to move in this trailer because everybody in Central Parish knows where I live at, you know.
We made a decision last month.
I'm sorry, I just asked a question.
He asked me a question, sir, and we apologize for the interruption.
Okay, that's no problem.
I was trying to kind of breeze him in on what you have on your property site at this moment. So, and you do have that mobile home.
Yeah, my daughter and son-in-law has a home on this property right now.
It is hooked up already. It does have electricity to it already.
The house, yes.
The house,
not
the
the
trailer.
Right. Simply because you need variance to get your electricity in.
Right.
And as I was explaining to you,
Okay.
So the variance is required to get the electricity hooked up.
That's right.
Because you can't hook it up.
Right.
because it can't be two families, non-family member.
Right, they don't consider my daughter's brother as first of kin, so.
And the trailer's in the right spot.
You
Far
know,
enough back.
but now, you know, when I went to the state, I mean, there's enough square footage, you know. The health department already granted me the okay. I just need to move past y'all, you know, and for my son to live there.
go ahead and close public hearing, because I don't think there's no one here really.
Motion to close public hearing?
Public hearing now closed. Does the board have any further discussions with this issue?
I'll make a motion, we accept the variance as written. I think that it complies with all the conformities of the surrounding areas, and I think it's a hardship is he needs to have it there.
Second.
I think it was a challenge to see who got the second. We have a motion to accept as written. Any opposition? Motion carries, sir. Your variance is granted.
All right, thank y'all very much. Y'all have a good afternoon.
Motion to
hang on just a second. We don't have any new business.
Yeah, well, they did.
But, Ms. June, what's the status on getting our meeting set up between the zoning, he hasn't got back with you yet?
Appreciate you, man. Thank you, Mr. Jones. Thank y'all, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
What did Mr. Bardwell, let me restate that. Mr. Bardwell, I thought was, we had already started moving towards us setting that meeting up. So he hadn't pursued that anymore, or he hadn't talked to you?
Issues that face the parish. Well, public.
Yeah.
They want with the full commission of everyone, and if one of them just don't have a forum, then you don't have a meeting.
That's correct.
So
We
it's
just,
kind of hard to do it, and we do have a workshop on the agenda, maybe this can be done as a workshop instead of
I mean, public
public meeting.
as long as we don't have a quorum of either side.
right, we can't have quorum anyhow.
That's what I was just getting ready to say. You can't have a quorum without advertising for a special meeting.
We don't plan to. We
Okay.
plan to have like 2 or 3 people from each that can carry over the other issue, because I'm sure everybody else has got something else to do besides coming to meetings all the time, which I don't. But we have a motion on the floor to adjourn.
And second.
And we got a second too. All in favor say aye.
Aye.